Good morning. Happy Friday. I want to talk some economics today as it is the end of the week and wanted to discuss deflation. It is the opposite of inflation, which is much more common, much more popular. I've talked about it before. We remember inflation is the rising of prices and wages and the coupled with the decrease in the value of our currency and the decrease in buying power. So, the inflation rate is the rate at which your money loses its value. So deflation is the exact opposite of that. It's the falling of asset and consumer goods prices, coupled with the falling of wages, though it also includes the increase in the value of our currency and the increase in buying power. So the fewer dollars that you do earn as your wages fall are worth more. So, deflation is many economists' worst nightmare. You hear some economists talk about a deflationary death spiral, and it's essentially what we saw during the crash of 2008 is rapid deflation. People saw the value of their assets decrease by massive margins in a very short time period. But I think it's helpful to realize that the real reason that happened was the period of massive inflation that preceded that. In the years before 2008, as the government became increasingly involved in the home loan business and prices of houses and real estate just increased exponentially in a relatively short time frame, we were kind of setting ourselves up for a massive crash and this rapid, unmanaged, uncontrolled deflation. So again, obviously that left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths, and no one really bothers to discuss deflation. That seems like it's the enemy at all costs. However, I'm one that tends to believe that some deflation is necessary. I mean, prices can't just keep increasing exponentially and indefinitely. I mean, there has to be some, topping. There has to be some tapering of some of these prices and some of these wages, So I think that deflation is a necessary evil, and I think that it can be effectively managed. And I think that that's something that we need to take a proactive approach to, is managing deflation, bringing some of these prices down. I just read the other day about falling airline prices. The fares that airlines are able to collect are falling due to increased competition. And now that's not necessarily a bad thing. Now it might be a bad thing for the stockholders of these airlines. However, as consumers, what's so bad about paying a little bit less for your plane ticket? And as long as the prices of assets and consumer goods fall quicker than wages, well, then your buying power is not necessarily going to be affected, or it might even increase in certain cases. So I think a little deflation is not necessarily harmful in all cases. We have to remember that, it's not necessarily about numbers. We all get fixated upon dollar amounts and prices. But really the most important thing is buying power. In these inflationary periods, for example, during a period of inflation, if I have $1 million, but that $1 million can only buy me one pizza, versus a period of, effectively managed deflation, and I have now $40, but that $40 can buy me two pizzas, well, who really has more money? We have to think of things in terms of buying power and what our dollars can do for us, rather than the face value or the dollar, the numerical amount. So a period of deflation certainly it would have a negative effect on the stock market. However, if we can find a way to effectively manage deflation and work with the economic cycle, it can be a slow decrease back towards fair book values of these companies, rather than these rapid inflation and then massive crashes. So a little bit different perspective, a little bit different way of thinking about this. Hope it shed some light for a few people, got a few people thinking. Hope everyone has a great weekend.